Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into the world of Matthew McConaughey, specifically through his book, Greenlights.
Right. And you probably know him as, the actor. But this book, Greenlights, it's different. It's more of a philosophy, really.
Exactly. It's his take on life, using his own experiences. He talks about greenlights, the successes, the go moments, but also, importantly, the lessons you find in the yellow and red lights, the cautions and the stops.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And we've been digging into excerpts from the book. It's kind of his playbook for navigating life.
hmm
So our goal here in this deep dive is to sort of unpack that philosophy.
Yeah, pull out the key ideas, the stories that really show how he thinks about handling, well, life's traffic lights, as he calls them.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so a big theme right off the bat is this idea of life's relativity.
Yeah.
McConaughey sees life as, he calls it a singular procession.
Yeah, like your own unique journey. And you're the one writing your own resume, your story. It's active. A verb with regard, I think he says.
Which brings us to the core metaphor, the traffic lights. Green is go, yellow caution, red stop.
Seems simple enough, right?
Well, yes and no, because he adds this really interesting twist, especially to the yellow and red lights. He doesn't just see them as roadblocks.
Ah, right. They're potential redirections, necessary pauses.
Exactly. He suggests that sometimes a no or a delay, that red light, it might actually give you something you need, even if it wasn't what you thought you wanted. It can push you towards maybe a better path, more green lights later.
And catching those green lights, it takes skill, according to him. He lists things like intent, context, endurance, resilience.
Discipline, anticipation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole toolkit. It's not passive waiting. It's very much about being prepared and, well, proactive.
So you need to spot the red lights, figure out why they're there, maybe change course.
Right. And then, on the flip side, you can actually engineer more green lights through, your choices, your effort, your will. You have agency in creating those smoother stretches. He also brings in things like time, world timing, personal timing, and luck, intuition, karma, fate even. It's this mix of what you control and what you don't.
Which leads to this concept he calls getting relative with the inevitable. Basically, knowing when something's out of your hands.
Okay.
And then choosing your response. Do you keep pushing? Do you pivot? Or do you just concede and move on? It's about acceptance, then action.
That makes sense. To really get this, though, we probably need to look at his early life, right? The values his parents instilled. He tells some pretty wild stories.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That tough love upbringing is key. Like the little Mr. Texas story, he came second.
Yeah.
But his mom just declared him the winner because she thought the other kid's fancy suit was unfair. It's
Yeah.
less about the actual result.
And more about how you frame it, how you define your own success.
Exactly. She taught him to own the meaning. And then there was the poetry contest where she submitted someone else's poem as his. And they won. Again, it's about perspective.
Wow. And his dad. He had that whole block and tackle before wideout philosophy, fundamentals first.
Master the basics before you try the fancy stuff. Discipline was huge, but also enjoyment. His dad apparently said, "I'd rather lose money having fun than make money being bored."
Huh. I like that. There are some intense stories, too, like driving his brother past school.
To teach self-reliance, yeah. Or that big confrontation over the pipe business, demanding loyalty from Don Knowles. His dad had strong principles, clear expectations, hard work, loyalty non-negotiable.
And let's be honest, some pretty unconventional parenting. The $200 bet on his brother Pat not needing to pee.
Yeah, that's something else. But again, you see the confidence, maybe even a lesson about, composure under pressure. It's layered.
And Pat's marijuana incident in college golf, the big takeaway was his dad insisting on telling the truth, even knowing the consequences.
Right. That value of honesty hammered home. It all feeds into that idea of learn to sail before you fly. Build the foundation first. Discipline, fundamentals. Then you can soar.
Which kind of sets the stage for his own adventures, right? He mentions being an accident, kind of unplanned. And that exchange year in Australia, that sounded rough.
Definitely not what he expected. He went thinking it'd be like Texas, sun and fun.
But it wasn't.
No, it was the opposite. He called it his winter. Lots of rules with the host family, the Dooleys, misunderstandings about cheeseburgers, lectures.
The whole mom and pop thing.
Yeah, and that awkward, drawn-out goodbye. It was a real culture clash and apparently quite isolating.
But that hardship, that contrast, it forced him inward, right? Made him rely on himself.
Totally. That's where he came up with that line. Life's hard. Shit happens to us. We make shit happen. And the importance of sticking to your commitments. No going back once you decide.
A tough year, but sounds like a crucial one for figuring himself out.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Then he gets back to Texas, turns 19, and has that bar fight with his dad.
The rite of passage.
Sort of marking a shift, yeah, from
Yeah.
father-son to, well, something more like equals in a way.
Mhm.
Men.
Then came the big decision. Law school or film school?
He chose film, obviously. And his dad's reaction was classic McConaughey Sr., don't half-ass it. Supportive, but demanding.
And even his approach to film school was unconventional. Less about classes, more about getting out there, right?
Yeah, real-world experience. Like working at the Catfish Station, that predominantly black bar, just soaking up different perspectives, stepping outside his bubble.
Which maybe primed him for that chance encounter, the dazed and confused casting meeting Don Phillips.
Serendipity and getting that iconic line.
That's what I love about these high school girls, man.
I get older, they stay the same age.
Yeah.
Apparently, he channeled his brother Pat for some of that Wooderson character.
And he sees that character, that vibe, as embodying cool. Not trendy cool, but like a timeless, natural state.
Yeah, authentic, not trying too hard.
Then he hits to Hollywood, messes up finding Sunset Drive initially, a little reality check.
Yeah. And then that spontaneous motorcycle trip across Europe, just sees a green light and goes for it,
Yeah.
embracing the adventure.
That spirit seems key. But life throws curveballs, setbacks. How does he navigate those? He talks about betting, for instance.
Right, and his approach isn't just about odds. It's about intuition, that gut feeling, the I knew it moments, those psychological factors.
Though it doesn't always work out, that Super Bowl bet he lost with his brother.
Exactly. Gut feelings are powerful, but not foolproof. It's about acknowledging them, using them, but not being ruled solely by them, maybe.
And that story from the set of Scorpion Spring about preparing for freedom.
Yeah, that's a great one. The idea that you have to do the groundwork, the preparation, so that when the moment comes, you're actually free to perform, to execute fully. You've earned that freedom.
Makes sense. He also spent time in a monastery, seeking quiet.
Seems like it. A pattern of needing solitude for reflection, stepping away to gain clarity, which you kind of need when your mom goes on hard copy.
Oh yeah, that story is hilarious. Shows the family dynamics haven't entirely changed.
Definitely not. And then there's the Amazon trip. Started with a wet dream, apparently. That's what he says. And he just took it as a sign, packed his bags, went to Peru solo, following intuition again, those unexpected nudges.
He seems really attuned to that. And he loves his road trips, right? In his van, Cosmo.
Calls it acting and storytelling 101. Just observing people, listening, soaking up life, like that encounter with Sam in Montana, and learning about endearments from Uncle Dave. Little moments of connection, understanding different ways people relate.
Which leads us towards connection on a bigger scale, finding Camila.
A huge turning point. He talks about moving out of the Chateau Marmont, feeling ready for something different.
And then seeing her across the room at the Hyde Club.
Yeah, he describes it as this very natural, immediate connection, even with the minor disaster of his car getting towed that first night.
Adds to the story, I guess. And her insight about him changing. What was that?
When he asked her later what she first noticed, she didn't list physical things. She talked about his change, which is pretty profound.
It is. And then moving into the RV park in Malibu together. A conscious choice to build something.
Very intentional. And the phone call to his mom about the pregnancy, classic again. Initial shock then.
Wide out it is.
Exactly. Full
Yeah.
acceptance. He also reflects on relationships, needing different things, sometimes distance, sometimes closeness. It's nuanced.
Okay, so personally things are shifting, and professionally too.
Yeah.
He makes that big decision to stop doing rom-coms.
Yeah, even though they were successful.
Yeah.
He wanted something more creatively, so he just stopped accepting those roles.
Which led to that dry weather period, right? No offers for a while.
For quite a while, yeah. It was a gamble, but he stuck to it, basically rebranded himself by saying no, and eventually it paid off.
That's when things like the Lincoln Lawyer, Killer Joe started coming.
Exactly, grittier stuff. And Camila apparently really pushed him, told him to grab his courage and take on 3 demanding roles back to back.
She sounds like a great partner. And Dallas Buyers Club, he was attached to that for years, wasn't he?
A long time. He felt a real connection to Ron Woodruff. Characters on the margins. He even met Ron's family. Read his diaries to really get him. That level of commitment.
It shows. And around this time, he marries Camilla, they have their kids. Seems like a period of real personal fulfillment.
Definitely comes across that way. Then True Detective, playing Roscoe Cole. Another complex, searching character.
It seems like he found his groove, playing these intense roles, though he notes they weren't always huge box office hits.
Right. And that led to another realization. Quit acting like me. Be me. Embracing his own authentic self, not just in roles, but in life.
So the book kind of culminates in this period of deep self-reflection, doesn't it? Going back through all his journals.
Yeah, he literally went off grid, took decades of diaries and writings to solitary places, and just processed his first 50 years.
What did he take away from that?
He breaks it down. First 20 years were about learning values. 20s and 30s were about shedding what didn't serve him. And his 40s were about actively chasing his own truths.
A journey of distillation.
Pretty much. And it leads him to this idea of the science of satisfaction. It's not about avoiding pain or failure. It's about navigating it, learning from the scars, and really living, not just trying not to die.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, the big takeaway from this deep dive into Greenlights, it really is about navigation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Life throws green, yellow, red lights at you constantly. Your journey is shaped by how you react, how you learn from all of them.
And it's an active process. We're all writing our own resume, making choices, trying to catch our own green lights.
Couldn't have said it better. It puts the power and the responsibility back on you.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Think about the traffic lights in your own life right now. Are there any yellows signaling caution? Any reds that might actually be opportunities in disguise, pointing you towards a new route?
It's worth considering. And hey, if you enjoyed this chat and want to hear McConaughey tell these stories himself, and he's a great storyteller, definitely check out the Greenlights audiobook. We've put the link right there in the description for you.